Vascular dementia progresses differently than Alzheimer's disease. While Alzheimer's typically causes gradual, steady decline, vascular dementia follows an unpredictable pattern that catches families off guard. According to research from the Alzheimer's Association, vascular dementia is the second most common type of dementia after Alzheimer's, accounting for approximately 10% of all dementia cases. Many experts believe it's significantly underdiagnosed because its symptoms differ from the typical memory problems people expect with dementia. If you're finding this information helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to stay updated on important health topics that affect millions of families worldwide. Vascular dementia occurs when reduced blood flow to the brain damages brain tissue. This reduced blood flow can result from strokes, small vessel disease, or other conditions affecting brain blood vessels. Unlike Alzheimer's, where brain changes progress continuously, vascular dementia often progresses in steps. A person functions at one level, then experiences a vascular event like a stroke or series of small strokes, and suddenly declines to a new lower baseline where they stabilize until the next event. What many people don't realize is that families often miss these progression patterns. They attribute changes to normal aging, recovery from a stroke, or just having bad days. This means critical opportunities for intervention are lost. Recognizing progression early allows medical professionals to adjust treatments, implement new strategies to prevent further vascular events, and help families plan for increasing care needs. Today, we'll explore 10 signs that vascular dementia is progressing in someone over 60. The sixth sign is so subtle that even healthcare professionals sometimes miss it for months, delaying crucial interventions that could slow further decline. This information is for educational awareness only. If you're caring for someone with vascular dementia or have been diagnosed yourself, work closely with your healthcare team. The first pattern to watch for is sudden worsening of cognitive function after being stable. This is the most characteristic pattern of vascular dementia progression. Unlike Alzheimer's disease, which causes gradual progressive decline, vascular dementia typically progresses in a staircase pattern. The person functions at a relatively stable level for weeks or months, then suddenly, often following a stroke or series of small strokes, their function drops to a noticeably lower level. After this sudden decline, they stabilize again at the new lower baseline. Research from the journal Stroke shows that approximately 60% of people with vascular dementia show this characteristic stepwise pattern. The mechanism involves acute damage to brain tissue from interrupted blood flow. When a stroke occurs, brain cells in the affected region die from lack of oxygen. This creates sudden loss of whatever functions those brain cells controlled. The person might be managing fairly well, then family notices that overnight or over just a few days they seem markedly worse. They're more confused and can't do tasks they were managing the previous week. If you notice sudden cognitive worsening, particularly if it coincides with new neurological symptoms like weakness, vision changes, or speech problems, contact their medical provider immediately. Another critical sign is increasing difficulty with executive function and planning. Executive function refers to higher-level cognitive abilities, including planning, organizing, problem-solving, and completing complex multi-step tasks. Vascular dementia frequently damages the white matter tracts connecting brain regions involved in executive function. Someone who efficiently paid household bills for decades now struggles to figure out which bills to pay first or how to keep organized records. They might pay some bills twice while completely forgetting others. Someone who cooked complex meals effortlessly now can't plan a meal requiring multiple dishes to be ready simultaneously. Research found that executive dysfunction appears in approximately 60 to 70% of people with vascular dementia and often manifests before obvious memory problems. What makes this particularly problematic is that it directly affects independence and safety. Managing medications, handling finances, and preparing meals safely all require executive function. Additionally, people with executive dysfunction often lack insight into their deficits. They don't recognize that their planning abilities have declined and insist they can still manage tasks that have become unsafe. Another warning sign is slowed thinking and processing that gets progressively worse. Processing speed refers to how quickly your brain can take in information, understand it, and formulate a response. After a diagnosis of vascular dementia, you might notice the person takes progressively longer to respond to even simple questions. You ask them what they want for lunch, and they pause for 30 seconds or more before answering. Tasks that used to take minutes now require much longer. Research from Stroke Journal found that slowed processing speed is one of the most sensitive early markers of vascular dementia, and often worsens progressively as the disease advances. The mechanism involves damaged neural pathways throughout the brain. Vascular dementia frequently damages white matter through small vessel disease. As white matter damage accumulates, signals must travel through alternative, less efficient routes. Everything slows down. What makes slowed processing particularly impairing is that it affects virtually everything else. Because processing is slow, memory appears worse because the person can't encode information quickly enough. Language seems impaired because they can't retrieve words fast enough. Slowed processing creates a bottleneck that affects all cognitive domains. If you're learning something valuable about vascular dementia progression that could help you or someone you care about, please take a moment to like this video and leave a comment sharing your thoughts or experiences. Your engagement helps this information reach more families who need it, and I read every comment. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss important health updates. Watch for increasing problems with attention and concentration. Problems maintaining attention represent another sign of vascular dementia progression that families often attribute to disinterest or stubbornness rather than disease advancement. The person shows increasing difficulty focusing on tasks or conversations. Their mind wanders constantly. They lose track of what they were doing mid-task. They can't filter out distractions. Background noise or visual stimuli that healthy people easily ignore completely derail their attention. Reading becomes nearly impossible. They read a paragraph but can't remember what they just read because their attention drifted away. Research found that people with vascular dementia and attention deficits were 3 times more likely to show significant functional decline within 2 years. What makes attention problems particularly impairing is their effect on other cognitive functions. When you can't maintain attention, you can't encode memories properly. Attention underpins almost every other cognitive ability. Additionally, attention problems affect safety. The person might leave the stove on because their attention shifts to something else, and they completely forget about cooking. This next sign is the one most people completely miss: subtle personality changes that family dismisses as mood swings. Subtle changes in personality and emotional regulation often appear gradually in vascular dementia progression, but families attribute them to stress, depression, or just being upset about their condition, rather than recognizing them as symptoms of brain damage. The frontal lobes regulate emotions, control impulses, and maintain the personality traits that make you uniquely you. When vascular dementia damages frontal regions, emotional control and personality can change in subtle but noticeable ways. The person might display emotions that seem inappropriate or excessive for the situation. They cry easily over minor things that never used to upset them. A small frustration that they would have previously shrugged off now causes disproportionate anger. Conversely, they might show flattened emotions, seeming indifferent to things that should matter. Personality changes can emerge slowly. Someone who was always considerate becomes blunt and tactless. saying hurtful things without awareness of how their words affect others. Research found that emotional and personality changes appear in approximately 40% of people with vascular dementia. These changes are frequently misdiagnosed as depression or dismissed as the person just having bad days. What makes personality and emotional changes so commonly missed is that families typically interpret them psychologically rather than neurologically. They don't recognize that brain damage is literally affecting the neural circuits controlling emotions and personality. If you notice emotional instability, inappropriate emotional reactions, or personality changes, particularly if these worsen over time or appear suddenly after a plateau period, discuss them with their healthcare provider. Progressive difficulty with language and communication is another important warning sign. Many people with vascular dementia experience some language difficulties initially, but progressive worsening of language abilities months after initial diagnosis suggests additional vascular events damaging language regions. The person shows increasing difficulty finding words during conversations. Pauses become longer and more frequent as they search for common words. They might use the wrong word entirely or describe objects in roundabout ways because they can't retrieve the proper name. They struggle to follow complex conversations, particularly in groups. Their own speech becomes less fluent and grammatically simpler. Speech that was once articulate and complex becomes halting and basic. Research published in Stroke found that progressive language decline after initial vascular events strongly predicts additional vascular damage and overall dementia progression. What makes progressive language decline particularly significant is that it indicates ongoing brain damage beyond the original vascular events. Worsening problems with spatial abilities and getting lost represent another critical progression sign. Spatial cognitive abilities, including navigation, depth perception, and visual spatial processing, often decline progressively in vascular dementia. The person gets lost in increasingly familiar places. Initially, they might have difficulty navigating new environments, but progression is evident when they start getting lost in places they've known for years. They can't find their way back from the bathroom in their own home. They take wrong turns in their neighborhood. They misjudge distances increasingly often. They reach for objects, but their hands stop short or overshoot. They have difficulty judging the height of curbs and steps, leading to trips and stumbles. Research shows that spatial cognitive deficits appear in approximately 50% of people with vascular dementia and predict increased fall risk and reduced independence. What makes spatial problems particularly dangerous is that they often aren't obvious until the person attempts independent navigation and gets lost. Spatial problems dramatically increase fall risk, and misjudging curb heights, bumping into furniture, and reaching inaccurately for support all lead to falls that can cause serious injury. Increasing emotional lability with rapid mood swings is another sign families need to recognize. Progressive emotional lability means rapid, dramatic swings in mood and emotion. The person might be calm and pleasant one moment, then suddenly crying or angry the next moment over minor triggers or no apparent trigger at all. They might laugh inappropriately at serious moments, then immediately become tearful. These rapid swings happen frequently throughout the day. Research shows that emotional lability appears in approximately 30 to 40% of people with vascular dementia and tends to worsen as disease progresses. The mechanism involves disrupted regulation of emotional responses. When vascular damage impairs frontal limbic connections, this regulatory control fails. Emotions become unregulated, swinging wildly without the normal moderating influence. What makes emotional lability particularly challenging is its impact on caregivers and family relationships. The unpredictable mood swings create a stressful, walking on eggshells environment. Progressive gait changes and increasing fall risk represent another serious warning sign. Walking problems appear early in vascular dementia and typically worsen progressively, indicating advancing disease. The person's gait becomes progressively slower and more shuffling. They take shorter steps and move more cautiously than before. Balance becomes increasingly unstable. They need to hold on to furniture or walls for support. Research found that people with vascular dementia showed measurable gait decline approximately every 6 months following vascular events. What makes gait problems particularly concerning is their direct link to fall risk. Falls represent one of the most serious complications for older adults with dementia. Falls can cause fractures, particularly hip fractures that dramatically reduce independence and quality of life. Falls can cause head injuries that worsen dementia progression. Additionally, gait problems often signal progression affecting multiple brain systems simultaneously. Before we get to the final and most critical sign, I want to remind you how important it is to share this information. If you found this helpful, please like this video, leave a comment about your experiences or questions, and subscribe to this channel for more essential health information that could make a real difference for you and your loved ones. The final and perhaps most overlooked sign is new or worsening urinary problems and incontinence. Loss of bladder control or increasing urinary urgency and frequency often indicate vascular dementia is progressing, yet families rarely connect these symptoms to dementia progression. They attribute urinary problems to aging or other causes. While those causes should be ruled out, progressive urinary symptoms in someone with vascular dementia frequently indicate disease advancement affecting brain regions controlling bladder function. When vascular dementia damages frontal regions, or the white matter connecting them to bladder control centers, this inhibitory control fails. The person experiences sudden, urgent needs to urinate with little warning. They may not make it to the bathroom in time. Research shows that urinary incontinence appears in approximately 30% of people with vascular dementia within 2 years of diagnosis and increases with disease progression. What makes urinary problems particularly challenging is their impact on dignity and quality of life. Understanding these 10 progression signs empowers families and caregivers to recognize when vascular dementia is advancing. Early recognition allows timely medical evaluation to identify new vascular events, adjust preventive treatments to reduce future stroke risk, implement safety modifications, and make informed decisions about care planning. Remember that vascular dementia progression isn't inevitable or uniform. Aggressive management of vascular risk factors, including blood pressure control, diabetes management, cholesterol treatment, smoking cessation, and appropriate use of blood thinners can slow or even prevent further progression. If you're caring for someone with vascular dementia, you're not alone. Millions of families are navigating this challenging journey. Recognizing these progression signs allows you to be proactive rather than reactive, to seek help before emergencies occur, and to maximize your loved one's quality of life and safety. This information is meant to educate and empower you, but it's not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult with qualified healthcare professionals about specific situations and treatment decisions. If this video helped you understand vascular dementia progression better, please like it, share it with others who might benefit, leave a comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Q.